Hi, welcome to our final Fireside Chat of 2012. We thank you for joining us for all the previous Fireside Chats of this great and blessed year. We thank you for joining us today. It's been a long time since we last got together. It was back in July in the heat of the summer. We were celebrating our Independence Day. Now it's the cold winter in December, and a lot has happened since then, both good and bad. And we're here to reflect on this year, to remember the reason for the season, and to resolve ourselves to have a great year in 2013. First, since we last spoke, as I said, much has occurred, both wonderful but also tragic. And one key lesson of the events of this year ought to be to give thanks, be thankful for what we have, and be reminded that life is so precious. For instance, the Olympics was this year. In the Summer Olympics, so many athletes were able to give thanks to their families, their parents, their loved ones, their friends, their trainers, those who they practiced with, and so many others for allowing them to have the opportunities to get to the point where they could say that they won a silver medal, that they won a gold medal, that they won a bronze medal. It's because of the work of so many people who loved them and cared for them and wanted to see them succeed, they were able to get to that point. And they gave thanks because of it. Our president was also reelected this year. President Obama gave thanks to so many millions of people in his campaign victory speech, in which he realized the importance of the work of others in helping him get to where he was. And he aptly described the millions of volunteers who worked for him as the best campaign team in American history. In a much more tragic way, the victims of Newtown and all the other tragedies that occurred this year in terms of shootings, including in Portland and in Aurora, the families of those victims were reminded of the importance of life as well, and of the preciousness of life, and of the importance of giving thanks for what we have. Our heart goes out to all the families affected by those tragedies. And, of course, in another more melancholic way, in Hurricane Sandy, the families who were affected by that tragedy as well, by that natural disaster, also were reminded of the preciousness of what we have and the importance of giving thanks for what we have. So, if there's any core lesson to be learned from 2012, it is that we ought to give thanks. That is, of course, one of the key components of the Christmas season, one of the key messages of this season, to be thankful to one another, to be thankful for one another, and to show love and altruism to everybody, including friends and enemies, those who are more powerless than we are, those who are more powerful than we are, to everyone. And that ought to be a key lesson for next year as well. Let us resolve ourselves that in 2013, our number one goal ought to be to give thanks and to remind ourselves how precious life is. Because in the end, what matters is not wealth or power or material possessions, but what matters is how we go about treating one another and how we make sure that we love one another and care for one another and give thanks for each other's presence. As the timeless Christmas classic says in its title, it truly is a wonderful life. That's what we learned this year. That's what we ought to remember this Christmas. And that's what we ought to remind ourselves to do in 2013. Give thanks to one another. If there's no other message that you've gleaned from these fireside chats, I hope it's that. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.